All right, everyone, welcome to another Broken English podcast. We're just going to get right into it. Um, I know a few people that have been working on set already in BC. How about you?
I don't know anybody, but I did drive by my first production yesterday.
Which was where?
I don't. This was on Fraser Street. I have no idea what it was for, but I saw the trucks, the lights, the people, and it was just like, wow, okay. There's a sign of life right there. It was somewhere on Fraser and almost near King Edward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So I guess if they need a graveyard, that's where they wanted to go.
yeah, this wasn't that. This was, I believe, to me it looked something like the Peony.
Okay. It's the thing is, it's like it's probably one of these TV shows, and it might be a Canadian show too.
Well, I've heard as well they are really trying to push the Christmas movies. It's really the angle so they can
Mm-hmm.
shoot those now.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically, what I was getting from everyone was how carefully sanitized it was how there was a distance between everyone in every area. Um, there were an abundance of masks and an abundance of regulations and an abundance of sanitizing and sterilizing the area regularly.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I would, I mean, you would figure that's what's going to be the game plan going forward, right? Just hyper sterilization of everything. I wonder if they're wearing gloves or things like
Yeah,
that.
no, there was a lot. I mean, I saw some because I wasn't there, but I saw a variety of different photographs, and I mean, it looked basically like set, except set in the COVID era with the additional masks, with the additional worries. Hair and makeup is very much a detached region.
Yeah, it's I'm already I'm already psychologically prepared for it because it's just gonna be something you're gonna have to get we just have to get used to, right? There's gonna be masks and sanitizers all over the place.
Yeah, we'll see how it moves. What's interesting though is I don't know if I sent you both articles, but there was one article I sent you about Jurassic Park World, which purported to say that someone had contracted COVID-19 on set and they'd shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Did I send you that one?
Yeah, you sent me that one.
Did I send you the follow up?
I don't think you sent me a follow up though. What was
The
that?
follow
Was
up from Universal was apparently that was unsubstantiated.
so it wasn't true.
No, apparently they were about
So just Chris Pratt spreading rumors and shit.
who knows any buzz for the film, but apparently it was Universal 5 days afterwards had said, no, actually, we've been shooting for 5 days. Everything's been going swimmingly.
So then where did that information? It's who knows.
It's the internet.
Yeah, no, yeah. Who knows? These things just come out of nowhere. Probably somebody picked it up on Reddit and it became an article or something like
Yeah,
that.
pushed the rumor mill out and then just decided to go as far as they could and
Yeah.
promoted it that way. But it's interesting because it really does sort of show everyone in the industry has to go by health and safety standards
Yeah.
that the general public aren't really that bothered about.
Hmm.
Because
Well,
from my perspective, I'm not seeing anywhere close to the amount of masks I thought I would.
I see them. I see it all everywhere. I even ordered my own.
Well, about fucking time.
Well,
But
Walmart's started to require it, so that's what triggered my. That's what
so
triggered
that
me.
was your, I'm not gonna get one.
I don't even shop at Walmart, but I just knew that was a sign.
Sometimes they have good prices.
Yeah, I get it.
But look, there are many places, including, for example, Tennessee, who have mandated face masks.
Yeah.
And you look at, like, there was a video that was circulating about this past Friday night in Tennessee, in downtown Nashville. How many people do you think were wearing?
I don't want to
Music's playing as per
disparage the
usual.
great state of Tennessee and
Tennessee's amazing.
and speculate
Tennessee
how
is
many people were.
amazing. Memphis is amazing. Nashville is amazing. They are great places with great people.
Hmm.
But I'm on about, just as an example, there's a lack of people understanding how quickly it can be dealt with. And if you look at the cases rising and rising and rising, especially in Texas, especially in California, it has to be taken seriously. And I just find going out around my area in Kitsilano and Point Grey, I don't find as many people as I thought would be wearing them to be wearing them.
Interesting because it's in my area. I mean, it's just and the places I've gone to, it seems like it's. I could even say a majority of where I go, most people. I guess it could be. It's somewhere between 50-50 from the places I've been seeing, and especially when you go into restaurants and it's other kinds of establishments.
Well, I'm seeing that from staff in those places, but
Yeah.
not the general public that happen to be socializing with one another.
Oh, well, actually, I was at Wreck Beach yesterday and it was a gong show. Like, if you went, it's like for anybody who's not familiar with Wreck Beach, it's a nude beach in Vancouver, and I was fully clothed, by the way, and it was just packed. And honestly, there was no social distancing going on at all. It was like COVID never happened.
Well, and the thing is there is clearly a second wave happening in the US.
Yeah, which is a given.
Well, but that's horrible. That's really horrible. You don't want the risk of a second wave to come through,
Yeah,
and that's why you've got the film industry here, and I'm assuming the film industry in California and wherever else it's open, going, you know what, we got to treat this seriously, because if we do end up having an outbreak on one of our shows, that's the show done for at least, absolute least, a few weeks, which can be a tremendous blow. When there's a day when you can't film, it ends up being a big deal. If you have 2 or 3 weeks, then any way you've got in terms of permits, any way you've got in terms of lining up locations and the logistics that happen to be involved in any of this go completely out the window.
yeah. Um, my observation is like for Americans, I think a good chunk, if not a majority of the population, just doesn't give a fuck.
Completely.
I think they've just had enough, and people are just gonna ride this wave. To no pun intended, but that's what I gather. Just ride this wave until this thing has just run its course. Because you see the second wave, you just see people they just not really listening, and then there's a lot of this, and then there's a lot of people who just think this is all some sort of conspiracy, and you have those crowds where it's like, no, this whole mask thing is a plot from the Illuminati and the deep state, and or sanitizers, or is a democratic or a left wing agenda. I don't, like I said, it's just highly politicized, highly polarized, and then there's just people who just don't care. I see it even here too. Like, it was just going to Wreck Beach. It was just like I didn't expect so much people there, and then it was just like there was nothing going on in terms of distancing and any of that.
Yeah, no. A lot of people just don't want to care about it.
Yeah,
What they don't understand are the potential ramifications, because it tends to be the people that are the most gun ho and lazy about it happen to be people in their 20s.
yeah.
What are people in their 20s?
What?
But what they don't realize is this: there are lots of people that get irreparable damage from it in their 20s. You may get through it, you may be fine on the surface, but if you end up with lung damage or whatever,
Yeah,
may not be living another 100 years. Sorry, you may be living a huge number of years to go, but do you really want to be doing that with hampered lungs, with damage going in that fashion?
yeah,
Doesn't make sense. And all because you can't wear a simple mask. Like, Tom Hanks was interviewed about his new Apple TV movie. And during that, of course, they brought up the fact that him and his wife had COVID
yeah,
because they had it in Australia and they got through it. And he literally said, the absolute least you can do, all you're being asked to do, is put a cloth over your face and stay away from strangers. Wow. That's just asking far too much.
Do you have to do? Do you have to do both? I mean, if you're gonna put a mask on, do you still have to stay away from strangers?
I mean, why in any way?
Get groceries and
Yeah,
pump
but
the
you still
gas.
wanna minimize the risk. Period.
Yeah.
Because it's, if anything, it's an empathetic way of behaving as opposed to necessarily a selfish thing.
Well,
You are looking out for the most vulnerable around
yeah.
who may have other health conditions.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to. We don't want to steer too much into this, but it's kind of like, to me, the social distancing thing is the appropriate reaction to that, right? It just kind of. I just saw a funny incident yesterday at the gym where this guy came up to one of the receptionists, and he starts talking about the coronavirus and how crazy it is, and it's like, you got to be careful, all while doing this, like standing right in her face and talking, right? It's like the irony of the whole situation didn't register with him, right? Where he was like literally a close talker, berating and pretty much ranting about how you got to be careful, during this time, and and I knew she knew that, because I can hear her chatting about what just happened there with the other receptionist when he went away.
So I had to point out to someone, I think I was like at a McDonald's or something like that. It was at a McDonald's. I'd gotten some food and like the app was acting really badly, and I just wanted the manager to know that the app was shit. Of course, I put it much more politely than that. And as she's talking to me, she comes out from behind the plexiglass to come and talk with me.
Yeah.
She's got a mask on, absolutely fine. But during her speech towards me, as in during our conversation, the mask was coming down. And so I had to move back a bit and go, you do realise that you've come really close to me, so the whole close talker thing, and B, the mask you're wearing, if you can feel your nostrils exposed, it's not really
It
working.
kind of negates it.
It's not a fashion item. It's not like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep my watch loose. No. You're either doing this or you're not.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but she probably thinks, man, it does. It's probably not going to spread through my nose. But then again, if you got something, anyways,
I mean, if you
I don't know.
exhale through your nose and you have anything there, it's just, all these things are just precautions. But when you look at something like film, you need, they're doing it as best they can. They're dealing with it as best they can so as to not have the whole industry completely seize up at this point.
Well, isn't it completely seized up at this point? I mean, I'm not
No,
sure.
there are things being filmed. There are slow movements in the correct direction.
It's slow movements, but I would imagine it's such a shell of what it was.
Oh yeah, no, it's, and not just that. The amount of money that has to now be involved is that much higher. Because think about it: if you had your average 12 to 14 hour day, and you could commit a lot of that time to actually shooting, that's completely changed at the moment. Because you can't have the hurdle of people around the camera. Video Village is going to have to be spread out. Everything is going to have to be at more, there's going to have to be more distance, which is going to take up more time, which is going to cost more money, which is going to make the shoot longer, which is going to make the production more expensive.
Right, right, right. Hmm.
I would be extremely surprised if you, have you been auditioning much recently?
No, I just, because there's just not much happening. But I got one thing recorded. It's just a recording thing, but it was for a short movie. But you know, it's the fact that there's not a whole lot going on. Plus, at the same time, you're at the bottom of the barrel you're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the picking. So
Right.
I'm not expecting a whole lot. But
More so what I meant was in terms of any sort of auditioning, I would assume that that's all going to be remote.
I would assume, I would I would assume at this point it's going to be all mostly remote for the short term. But I don't know how long. I don't know to what extent.
Well, we'll soon see, but needless to say, they are filming. As I say, I was speaking with some people yesterday that were on set.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
the catering's changed a bit as well. So where you would have your food truck with people getting stuff off of it, now it's all boxed and everything is ready to give out to people. But it's in a very um, detached form. as opposed to those of you that are watching or listening that have had time on set will have had the experience of the renowned food trucks and the lunch trucks and all the rest of it and
If you think
crafty
if
etc
you think the
etc.
camera adds 10 pounds, wait till you get to the food truck. And the crafty table.
Infinite free food, I mean, come on. But that's all got
No,
to change
no
because
kidding.
it all has to be very much sanitized, sanitary, no risk.
Just like everywhere. Just like everywhere. I
Yeah.
yeah yeah. Welcome to the new normal.
Hopefully not for too long.
See, you're gonna have to ride the wave. It's just, I mean, you
There's
can't.
no choice.
I was even thinking, even if you're doing an indie production, what you can do is just have the same kinds of things going on. Wear the mask and gloves, and and just and be reasonable and then be reasonable with this distancing, right? But I think first and foremost, if you're gonna do an indies thing, just wear a mask, wear gloves. Those with that combination, you're pretty safe, right? And from there, you can just work something out because at least then you're really reducing the risk of anything happening.
I mean, I have a pretty strong feeling that a lot of the productions that come out 2021 or the tail end of 2020 are going to end up being single person shots a lot of the time, or shots with a great distance between person A and person B.
How did? Oh, that's why. Well, that's a good question. Hey, one thing that makes me, I'm thinking they're not testing their actors, right?
I would assume they'd have to.
I don't think I heard any of that.
Actually, I'm sure they would be because the part that I'd left out in talking about the experience on set was everyone is temperature tested.
Okay, I see. Temperature check. The thing is with that, it's like, um, does that will people who are asymptomatic slip through the cracks? So, but I know that there's you can do testing for to actually see if they somebody actually has it. I'm just wondering.
I would assume if you had something where anyone had to be too close or too intimate, that it would end up being you would have to have them tested. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's it's the whole
Come,
Russian roulette thing.
come to think of it, I would think this would be a standard thing because you're gonna have some production there where you have actors and they have to be kissing or intimate or whatever. So I would assume there'll be some testing going on with the performers, right?
I would think that would make complete
I
sense.
guess so. I just now come to think about it, I just haven't heard anything like that. It's just something that you would think you would have to do, but I don't think I've heard much about that. Heard about that specific part.
We'll soon see. So, sort of moving on a bit from there, have you been paying much attention to Christopher Nolan's Tenet and what will or won't happen with that? Because
Not
apparently
really.
he's still pushing hard to try and get it out this summer,
Is he?
despite the fact that it's unlikely to do well at the box office because no one's going to see films.
What's his rationale for that?
I haven't seen much reported other than he just wants to make sure it gets out and it actually is available. But to me, you look at, say, for example, No Time to Die, the new 007 film, the new James Bond film. That's been pushed back to 2021. And a lot of people are saying that they don't even think it's going to make a 2021 summer release because cinemas won't be operating at the capacity that they want to be in order to be able to justify all the money involved in putting out a mainstream film like that.
Hmm.
Tenet is likely to make Inception type money. It doesn't have as many big names, but it now Christopher Nolan has become the big name behind the film.
Yeah.
So he himself has now sort of elevated himself to Tarantino, like, oh, it's a Christopher Nolan film. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to see it because it's a Christopher Nolan film.
Yeah.
But the problem is if no one goes to see this film, um, are they just going to do a video on demand thing? Because I've heard it's a very, very, and excuse the poor choice of words here, visual film. As in, it is a cinematic experience that you would aim to have on a larger basis.
Yeah. It's just the thing is, I don't think that's a be a good idea. It's just simply because it's I don't I can for example speak like we can speak here in Canada. Cineplex is only it hasn't even opened in Ontario, I believe. I mean, it's not even as
Has it
big.
opened here?
What was that?
Has it opened here?
I don't. I think it's open in BC, but I don't think. I think they've just. I don't think they even open in Ontario or Quebec.
Sorry, just to interrupt you a second.
Breaking news.
By the time you guys hear this, it may have already broken. But it now says Tenet is aiming for, where it was aiming for July 15th, which is already passed, it's now saying August 12th.
August 12th. And I don't know what the situation is with when it comes to the theaters in America, but I don't think this whole situation.
Well, California's already ordered them all shut down.
Right. So.
And Mulan is now saying August 19th.
Okay.
Wait, what? It says coming soon in cinemas August 19th in Iceland. Okay.
So I gotta fly all the way to Iceland.
If you want to see that, if you want to
Tenet.
see that Mulan, I mean, you know, obviously.
Or is it Milan?
I've got no idea.
I'll wait till it gets onto video on demand in Iceland to go watch it.
Yeah. What is going on?
I just don't think if that's what he's trying to do, I don't think it's a good idea right now because with the second wave happening and just the current state of the psyche of the average person, I don't think you're gonna. I think you're gonna miss out there on a lot of money.
Yeah, I think they'll gross a hell of a lot less than they want to.
Or significantly less than what they want and could get.
With that said, though, you've got. Did you ever see Train to Busan?
No, I haven't seen that movie.
It's quite good. I think you'd enjoy it.
So I've heard.
It's a Korean zombie film, basically.
It's from the same director that did what's it call it God. Sorry, it's that old age. The one that just won the Oscar, and that I saw twice.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I thought it was the same director, isn't it?
No, Bola. Not at all. Believe it or not, Korea has a variety of different people.
Tell me more.
The director is Sang-ho Yeon. Or Yeon.
Trying to. I thought
And
it was the same director as. He's the same director that just directed.
Didn't do Parasite.
Parasite. That's what. Yeah.
Didn't do Parasite.
Yeah, he did do Parasite.
Did he?
Yeah. Verify that here. God, I can't stand IMDb's new.
He did not direct Parasite.
He directed.
You're thinking for
sorry.
The director of Parasite was Bong Joon-ho.
Oh right, sorry. He did what was it, Snowpiercer, right?
Which one did Snowpiercer?
Yes. Sorry, and he did Parasite, right? Okay, there we go.
But not Train to Busan.
Sorry, not Train. I got confused with Snowpiercer.
Fair enough. Anyway, Sang-ho Yeon, who did Train to Busan, did he do the sequel as well? Did he do Peninsula? Let me just check this. But basically, the sequel for that just came out. In foreign markets and specifically in Korea. And surprisingly, and I say surprisingly just because of what's going on at the moment, it's done a lot better than expectations. So people were excited about it. But with everything going on right now, they weren't too prepared for how it would or wouldn't do with a theatrical release.
So a sequel to Train to Busan came out in South Korea and it did well.
13 to 19 million on the opening weekend,
Right.
which right now is insane.
I just don't. But going back to Tenet, I don't know if that would be the same outcome. I just don't see it.
My question is it worth it?
Is it
Is
worth
it worth it right now? The risk involved.
I don't think it is.
I mean, with the video on demand wave that we've had as of late.
But I wouldn't want to watch it on video on demand either, though.
No, wouldn't necessarily either, but why not just shelve it for
Yeah.
now? You don't have to put it out right now. You can wait, put it out next year or the year after.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to deteriorate.
If it is, like we were talking about, it's not going to be that good of a film.
If you think it's not going to be that good of a film.
If it deteriorates just because it isn't released right now, remember we were talking about the whole idea of when a film is released? I think if it's a good film, it's going to last.
Yeah, when I say deteriorate, I mean like the buzz around it, the interest, and all that kind of.
Oh yeah. Sorry, no way.
Yeah.
It's not gonna lose the traction. People are still gonna want to watch it.
I think there's gonna be enough people who still want to watch it. They're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer, because a lot of those people are just I think will be more patient.
Remember when we were growing up? It'd be 2 years before a film came out.
Well,
But like this is coming out, and it's like, oh, oh wait, you mean, it's out the end of next year.
yeah. So, but then again, this is something he's requesting, but it's not exactly is Warner Brothers going through with it.
I mean, if you look at, it's still slated for the 12th of August.
All right.
And right now, on this recording, that's 3 weeks away.
Okay, well, if it is, then maybe I might even consider seeing it.
It's up to you. I mean, I haven't seen you in person in a while. I might not see you in person for a while longer.
Don't I wear a beekeeper's outfit? What like what can I say? If it's like if the movie if the theater isn't busy and it's playing and I can get plenty of space around people, it's no more busier than a mall.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you feel.
Yeah.
My view is, at the best of times, people are a little less than trustworthy.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
In a pandemic, probably want to avoid the movie theater for now.
It's not as bad, and also coupled with the fact that we're in BC and the numbers here are nowhere near many of the places on this continent.
Yeah, true. Fair enough.
So it's basically assessing the risk. But like I said, it's just a thought. I'm not 100% on it, but depending on what's going on at that moment and what the risk looks like.
Feel free to tell me your review.
I'll tell you, I'll be the only one to watch it in BC.
One ticket sold.
I'll probably
One ticket sold.
I'll probably be watching
this
with
random
the Wreck Beach crowd in there.
Yeah, this is just more and more surreal each time.
I'm telling you, man, it's just like, yeah, there's just there's a wave here, and there's a wave of people who just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to realize they're being pretty selfish, because you are. If you don't treat this the right way, then I've had people I care about die as a result. Many other people have as well. When you look at those numbers, it's not. Those numbers are real. Those numbers are people connected to people who have left behind shattered souls and forever changed lives because this has continued the way it's continued. So, yeah. Nice. So I'm guilt tripping you to staying home and not. The funny thing is I'm pointing at you now, and this is really appropriate for those that are watching the video, but I'm not sure whether this point is going to look right, because in the previous ones,
I think it might
should I be pointing this way? Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like for you, but it's like I didn't know we had a third person in the video here.
Yeah,
there's your PSA.
I'm breaking the fourth wall.
There's your PSA for everybody who's watching and considering watching Tenet, especially to our American viewers.
And here's the thing. I completely support Christopher Nolan. I completely support his work. I think he's brilliant. I just think that there's a time and a place, and people should be entertained at home right now. With that said, I've seen a couple more VOD movies. Specifically, I told you I saw The Jesus Rolls, which is a spin off of The Big Lebowski,
Yeah.
with John Turturro being the writer director as opposed to the Coen brothers, and him.
Oh, he wrote and directed it.
He wrote and directed The Jesus Rolls.
Wow. I thought it was the Col- I thought the Coen brothers did that too.
No, 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 no. They did The Big Lebowski, so
Yeah.
they probably had. They were the ones that came up with the idea for the character.
Yeah.
Maybe they collaborated to a degree, but Turturro is the one who did this one. And I must say, for anyone who's a big fan of The Big Lebowski, maybe avoid this. I mean,
You weren't a fan.
it's one of those films where there's lots of okay or entertaining moments,
Yeah.
but it isn't a full cohesive piece.
And it's trying to live up to the Big Lebowski.
It's trying to live up to a character who was great in his small scenes,
Yeah.
and elongate that to an entire film.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some great people in there, like Bobby Cannavale's in there, Audrey Tauto's in there, Susan Sarandon's in there. It's a good film. So it isn't a good film. Fatigue. I apologize, audience. It isn't a good film.
It just didn't work.
Not a good film. It's a good cast.
Right. It's cast well.
And there are good performances, and there are abstract good scenes. But overall, no, I don't recommend it.
You didn't feel it. I remember seeing the trailer for that and it caught me off guard. I just haven't watched it yet because there's just so much things happening. That's on Netflix, right?
No, it's on video on demand.
Oh, yeah, the video on demand, so you have to buy it. Right.
Well, rent it.
Or rent it or whatever. Right.
It's a $20 rental, which is about the equivalent of a movie ticket.
That's a little bit too high. That's more. Really?
I
That's
mean,
a movie ticket with a small popcorn.
that's a movie ticket with a butter on a popcorn. That's about it. You're not even getting a
That's a
popcorn for that
small
price.
popcorn these days. Like,
Well, basically, the way that price it tends to be justified is this. If you think about you yourself, just watching it yourself, it's going to be $20. But if you watched it with a friend or a partner or someone like that, then you could go, okay, it's $10 a ticket. You know what I mean? It's the whole rationale that we had back in the day when Blockbuster existed and renting was more more abundant.
Right.
And you would get your film, which would be like $6.99 or whatever, or $7.99 for your brand new release.
I don't even remember.
Been bootlegging too long?
No, it's just like I grew up in that era that like it was there. I never had enough money to go rent anything myself.
You never did that?
I never rented it. I don't. You know what? Actually, I think I did, but there was never a Blockbuster near me, so I went to Rogers Video. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah, Rogers Video. I remember that briefly, but I was never really a big renter. We had most of the stuff I watched in the theaters, or we just had for some reason there was always some videotapes hanging around of some movie or something, and then DVD came, then the internet came, and then it just became more of an online thing, and then not too long after that, the whole remember when Netflix, everybody can kind of forgets. Remember Netflix started off as a mail thing, and then there was some other competitors there too at the same time. So growing up, yeah, Zip.z, yeah, I had those too. So movie rentals for me was from like the brick and mortar thing was a short-lived cultural moment for me.
I adored it. It was great. It was great. It was going through the library of titles, and it was. I think we spoke about this in one of the early podcasts that we did, but it was the whole idea of going through a library of things, of seeing the different basically like music. So it'd be like seeing an album cover, except in this case it'd be a movie cover. And if it had someone you knew, or if it looked kind of cool, you pick it up and then you read the description on the back, and then you may rent an
You may.
awful film. Because the great thing about that time, pre-internet, and even to a degree before Rotten Tomatoes and stuff really became one of the strongest review sites, was you could get a film, not know anything about it, and not be able to find out anything about it until you'd seen it.
That yeah, yeah. But for me, I didn't start really renting until the DVD mail renting system came in. That's when it took off for me. I no, I don't think I did because it's like that's when I really was like really fell in love with movies like even more because it now allowed me to pick things out that I want to see and then return it anytime I wanted and just not have to deal with the hassle and then have even a wider selection of what the brick and mortar had.
Yeah, fair enough, but I kind of like the pressure. Because now, what I mean by that is, for example,
Those late fees, man, they just make you sweat.
but I've had
And
friends,
rewind it, goddamn it.
be kind, rewind. But I've had friends who will recommend a film or a TV show to me,
Yeah.
and then they'll pester me going, "You seen it yet? You seen it yet? I want to talk to you about it. Have you seen it yet? Oh, come on, you! I've been telling you about this for weeks. I've been telling you about this for months. I've been
That's
telling you about this for
that's when
years."
that shit was magical.
But it was the whole idea that you would go in there and you'd get the films, or you'd do something like they'd go, "Oh, you can get six of them for $20," and you get six of them, and you come home and it'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a movie weekend." Da, 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 da. Whereas now, you just
I know it's too fucking easy. There's nothing magical about it.
oh, I mean,
I just opening that envelope and smelling the toxins of the glue, and then just taking out that DVD and then just
see,
popping
I
it.
never got into that part of it. I never got into the whole sniffing things, but more so, more so, I never got into the whole pre-ordering, not pre-ordering, but the renting of the DVDs
The
via the post, via the mail.
because remember you did it online, but you just get it through snail mail.
No, I knew about it. I
Yeah,
just never did it. I was always the type that wants to go there and look through the different displays of different pieces of.
that's when it became fun for me because
Yeah, I just. You go ahead.
I just never liked the brick and mortar selection and then having to go there. It just wasn't appealing to me. I mean, somebody else would do it and I would just watch, but I just never found it appealing. But when the whole mail thing came, the online mail order came, that's when it just like, that's when it was like it just turned magical for me because now I can watch some things that I remember watching on VHS and then having being able to. It was just the ability to have things, explore things that the brick and mortar didn't have, and
What
then
about with albums? Like, if that was your approach with movies, what about with albums? Were you the type of person that would go into a music shop and you'd flick through the CDs, or you'd check what was on a display on the wall, or you'd, see the albums as in the big vinyl, and you'd flick through and look for your specific artist or your genre or whatever? Were you that type of person? Oh, Bola, I'm disappointed. You have not lived.
no, not really.
Oh, damn.
Sorry, I just never had that. For music, I never really had that
Oh,
thing.
if we do ever get outside of the new normal, show you a few record shops. Well, actually, we'll need to make some trips for this, but I'll show you some record shops and just perusing through the different covers and perusing through the albums and going, oh shit, so and so worked with
I,
him and he rapped on that song and yeah.
I get it looked like it was fantastic. I just never was really exposed to that. I don't think in my neighborhood, in my area, it's like I don't think there was what there probably was. I just probably wasn't in it. It just no, I just never. And then it was like going into a record store and I go, where do I even begin?
It's
I
It is something. It is something.
like I tell you, when the internet and the digital phase came in, that's when things switched for me.
I think for me, the saddest part of all of it is that now, and I'm sure you've become guilty of this because I know I have, and I know many other people that have as well, is when you go onto something like a streaming service, you get so fucking overwhelmed by the
Yeah,
abundance of content that
that's
you end up spending probably the equivalent of a TV show worth going, don't, no, no, maybe I'll add that to my list, but I don't
yeah,
feel like that right now.
you
Do I
know.
want that? Do I want the
I
whole
Yeah, I think you know what? This brings up another topic of the problem of abundance.
yeah. That was the thing. The thing that you did not experience, we're going to have to make you experience it at some point. Whereby you go and you pick six titles and you go, you know what? I'm going to have a movie weekend and I'm going to watch all six of these films. And then you don't get any other choice. You've got to watch them because they're due on Monday. And you watch these six films and you can go, oh, this one was great and this one was horrible. It was superb.
It 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 was it I no I get it. That thing, that whole period where you just weren't you just didn't have all the freedoms and the selection and the options like you had now. So you had to be more focused, right?
And I think that was great.
I
I
guess
think that was great.
I
I
was
think that was great.
because I remember that time too, and then now I kind of realize it. Just being in this conversation, I kind of realize because of everything we've got now with you name it, right? It's kind of diluted things in a certain way.
Hugely.
Yeah, it's just like it's just everything is out there now. There's you could just binge or you could just do whatever you want. It's just right there, right at your fingertips, and I
In a lot of ways, it's superb. In a lot of ways, it's great.
it's
Like, don't
great.
get me wrong, it's great. But for example, when I show you a new song on Spotify or something like that, back when, it would be harder to do,
Yeah,
I would be launching you into a completely different pursuit, a new journey where you would go, oh, that person, I've got to hear more from them, etc.
yeah,
Whereas now it's just sort of like, I'll put it on Spotify, I'll press play, we'll see what the algorithm comes up with for me. Oh, Netflix recommends this. Oh,
no,
this one. And it's just sort of like, the magic isn't the same as me saying to you, have you tried this dish? This dish is really tasty. Give it a try. You try it, you like it or you don't. It's just the onslaught of everything.
yeah. And then there was the magic of the having the physical media, right?
Oh, yeah. And people getting pissed off or you being pissed off at someone for not returning it exactly how it was given. I gave you that case,
You know,
that little plastic jewel case,
opening the CD case and the cover and the inserts and
folding it out, not reading any of the information, but liking the picture.
right. But no, I mean, I sometimes like there was some things that you'd get, and depending on what your scene was, like you can go deep dive into what they put in there. I was it. I think I got it was the Animatrix or something like that. I remember. I mean, I love the
Was that
Matrix.
the one that had a cartoon one?
Yeah, that had all the animations, right? And I think I did have the physical version of it, and it came with all these inserts and things about the whole Matrix. And I was like, and even a comic. Sometimes it comes with a comic book. So depending on the product, it was like you can just I deep dives on that stuff, right? But now it's just like, but now it's hard to be immersive in worlds now because there's so much shit out there, and it's right there instantaneously. And I'm kind of realizing it's really ruined the magic of a lot of this.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Very much a double-edged sword because now the big thing, which I haven't really gotten into that much, although I know some people that have. I feel like Trump when I say that. Some people say prick. Anyway,
Good thing you got rid of that MAGA hat in the corner before we started recording.
never, never, never. For the record, anyone that happens to
It was the
be
color contrast. To me, it was just, it's too artsy. All that, the white shirt, the white walls, and then the red MAGA hat. It's like, come on.
here's the thing. Anyone that does happen to watch this, or listen to it, of course, I am in no way shy about my politics. Don't like Trump. Never have. Never will. Period. Fuck Trump. Anyway,
That's like that was brought to you by the DNC. That was a paid advert by the Democratic National Congress.
there are Republicans I like. There are many of them I like. But that man is just, I absolutely loathe him. And if you like him, I probably won't like you. Anyway, back to what we were saying.
Right.
Now there are steel books. Have you ever seen these?
Still books.
Steel books. What they are movies typically recently released or games recently released where they have an added layer of worth because of the fact that it's like an interesting movie cover or something related to the movie. Like, say, for example, you were to go with Batman, one of the Batman Begins films or something like that.
Right.
It would be a metallicized version of a Blu-ray case with an embossed bat image, etc. And then it would go with more and more around that. So it would be something that you would revere. It would be an item you would touch and feel and be able to sort of have it on your shelf, like you would pride yourself on having a certain book that you could always reread.
Right.
That really meant a lot. And then you'd share it with your friends and I'd be like, hey, Bola, you know that Blu-ray? Da, da, da.
Yeah.
But now it's just sort of like, I'll just click the link for you. I'll share the link for you.
I know. Wow. This is a good topic because it just made me realize it's like there's a lot that's been eroded in this whole information age, right? It's, I mean, definitely I don't say we go back, but you know, there were some things that have been lost. That there's things that have been lost in the process that I wish weren't lost.
I think the interesting thing is if you look at what we've now come to, is what has resurged.
Right.
So, for example, in the past decade, I'm sure you've heard that vinyl's made a massive comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And vinyl's made a massive comeback because it's so much fun. I mean, not only is it the sound quality issue, but it's so much fun holding a vinyl record. It's so much fun placing it and the tactile interaction of you and the record player. And I don't know if you've ever DJ'd. I used to for a bit. But the feeling of scratching and playing around with records is amazing. But not just that. There's the collector's aspect of it where you have this 12-inch cover which sometimes is just magnificent art.
Yeah.
And if it isn't magnificent art in a drawn sense, it ends up being magnificent art in terms of a really cool photograph or whatnot.
Yeah, I think people are craving that. I think maybe why vinyl's coming back because people are craving that tactile experience.
And I think that what would build off of that is there has to be, and if anyone is watching this or listening to it and happens to turn around and come up with a product, we will hopefully get a percentage. But there has to be something that comes with this new generation of television. And by that I mean movie and TV viewers, but I mean the new generation of television, the smart TV, where there is an option of something physical. Like there has to be something physical to be able to then move us back to this beautiful collection. Like, I get the idea of essentialism. I think essentialism is a beautiful concept. I don't like necessarily the idea of hoarding and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But there is a magic involved with a physical representation of a piece of art that you like.
Something physical. I think it has to go hand in hand with whatever it is, right? The more you're excited about that intellectual property or whatever it is, the better, right? Because now you want something more from it besides just viewing it. Like, think of whatever your favorite films are and favorite things are. There's some things that you love so much that you want more than just the to view it, right? You want a piece of it physically. So maybe yeah, you'll get some sort of memorabilia or something that that you can take with you, right? Beyond just the viewing experience of that movie or song or show. Sorry, that song or that album, that show or whatever. But the one thing I wanted to point out was that I think with this abundance, it's harder to. I'm thinking maybe it's becoming harder to appreciate things because it's just right there. Um, you, I would define it in this context as not realizing the value of it as much as you should be.
I think there's two sides to it because I don't think that on the one hand you might not appreciate it to a certain degree, and on the other hand, what it does is it, as the phrase goes, it separates the wheat from the chaff, whereby you have when you find a show, be it a movie or a TV series, that is just phenomenal. Because of the abundance of lukewarm material and the
Yeah.
abundance of lukewarm stuff, it makes you turn around and go, ooh, that was great.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Like, for example, if anyone didn't know this, Bowler's favourite TV show is Homeland. And it's a pretty amazing TV show.
Yeah.
If you see other shows around it that try and do something similar and fail, then for me, the abundance actually helps me realize, okay, this is the level that most are at, and this is the level that Homeland's at.
Yeah.
And then the only thing I'll recommend to people will be this stuff at this level.
Yeah. True. There's uh most of it is just mediocre, I would say, or
Yes.
lukewarm, or however you want it. It's like you see it once and you forget it.
Right.
I just know that like just going back to Tenet, for example. It's just, to me, it's like I love Christopher Nolan's movies, and I just feel like if I'm watching it at home, on my smart TV, it's just not this. It's just, I feel like it just might alter my viewing experience of it, because it's just the thing that when you're watching in a theater with the big screen, the big sound, and the reactions of the people around you, and that whole experience, it could play a significant part in the way I digest the film.
Right, and I get that, and it would be significantly different in terms of the experience. With that said, though, it's the which is the lesser of two evils. Is it that I'm going to put myself in a position where I'm potentially exposed to people that I don't know, where I could be vulnerable, or I can make people I care about vulnerable, or am I going to watch the movie on a massive TV because you have a big TV? Am I going to watch it on a massive TV for the moment, and then 6 months down the line, or a year, 18 months, however long, when they do replay it and rerun it, will I then re-experience it in a sort of a retroactive fashion? Because the truth of the matter is if the movie's any good, it's going to be replayed. There's going to be specialty nights. People are going to revere it. People are going to talk about it. People are going to want to go back to it. If not, the viewing experience, if the studio and the filmmaker and everyone else is so anxious to go, we need to get our return on investment, we need to get a bang for our buck on this, let's get it out there. Maybe it is the
I don't I don't know. I could wait. I, it's actually, this is a great time to emphasize a quote that says, abstinence makes the heart grow even more fonder.
I think you mean absence.
Sorry, abstinence.
No. You mean absence.
Abstinence, not absinthe. Abstinence.
No. Just absence. You mean you were saying abstinence. You mean absence. Abstinence makes the heart grow fonder. Oh, Bola.
You get whatever. You get what I mean.
I think your
Isn't
quote
it?
is
Isn't it
actually better.
abstinence or abs?
No, it's absence, as in
No,
to
yeah,
not be there, and abstinence is basically to not do something, like to not.
yeah. I'm using that, but I'm using that phrase. I'm using that phrase. I'm just using that terminology.
Abstinence makes the heart grow fonder. Works.
Abstinence from watching a Christopher Nolan movie on VOD, or abstinence of watching it too early during a pandemic.
Yep. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this podcast. So I will simply say to you, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Absence from what though? Be careful out there, folks.
We'll
All
see you
right.
again next week. And if we don't, that saddens me a little.
Just wait the other week. That's all.
We'll be back.
All right. See you guys.
Broken English Podcast. Check out our stuff. If you haven't yet, you might want to.
Might want to. Give it a try.
There we go.
Adios.
Adios.